Mr. Chairman, I offer an amendment today to ensure that the President and the Secretary of Energy are able to use the Strategic Petroleum Reserve without arbitrary limitations during a time of war. This amendment allows for the U.S. to have the full capabilities of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve at its disposal without restrictions for as long as Russia continues to illegally attack Ukraine. On February 24, 2022, Russia launched an illegal invasion of Ukraine, altering the geopolitical landscape, not only in Europe, but across the globe. President Biden and our allies took swift action and significant action to support Ukraine by banning Russian energy imports. These actions have put pressure on Putin and allowed Ukraine to continue defending its sovereignty and, with it, our democratic ideals. Putin's war has caused a global energy crisis, which has been exacerbated by increased demand as we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Americans felt the energy and gas prices rising as U.S. energy suppliers worked to meet the need. Thankfully, the U.S. has the Strategic Reserve at its disposal. This reserve is the world's largest supply of emergency crude oil, with the sole purpose of meeting energy demands in times of crisis. President Biden smartly utilized all the tools at his disposal to limit energy supply constraints and released enough barrels of crude oil to fill the gap left by Russian oil. Experts show that Biden's actions helped lower the price of gasoline for Americans everywhere from 13 to 31 cents a gallon. Sadly, almost 1 year later, the international landscape continues to be in crisis. We're no closer to reestablishing Ukrainian sovereignty while Russia continues to launch offensives. Until Ukraine is free, until Ukrainians feel safe, until Russia is held accountable, our global energy markets are at risk. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
The gentleman from Illinois yields back his time. For what purpose does this gentleman from North Dakota seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I insist on my point of order against the amendment.
The gentleman will state this point of order.
Clause 7 of Rule 16 prohibits the House and its committees from considering non-germane amendments. The amendment violates Clause 7 of Rule 16 of the House rule because it is not germane to the underlying bill. Specifically, the bill limits the drawdown of petroleum in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve until the Department of Energy develops a plan to increase the percentage of federal lands leased for oil and gas production. But the amendment addresses the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This is outside the scope of H.R. 21. Conditioning enactment of this bill upon an entirely unrelated foreign military event is not germane.
Does any member wish to be heard on this point of order?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
A gentleman from Illinois be recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For these purposes, the subject matter can be construed as preventing certain SPR drawdowns until the administration develops a production increase plan. This amendment narrowly addresses the same subject matter without broadening the plan. Rather, it ensures a timeline conducive with our current state of international crisis. This amendment says the plan can't be implemented before the Secretary of Energy certifies that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is ended. It does not condition the effectiveness of the bill, nor does it require any extraneous action or bring any new statute or new committees of jurisdiction. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Does any other member wish to be heard on this point of order? The chair is now prepared to rule. The gentleman from North Dakota makes a point of order that the amendment is not germane to the bill. Clause 7 of Rule 16 provides that no proposition on a subject different from that under consideration shall be admitted under color of amendment. One of the central tenets of the germaneness rule is that an amendment may impose a related condition on the terms of a bill. The bill prohibits the drawdown of petroleum products in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve until the Secretary of Energy has developed a plan to increase the percentage of certain federal lands leased for oil and gas production. The amendment provides that the prohibition, and I quote, the prohibition contemplated by the bill may be effective only when Russia's invasion of Ukraine has ended. Various precedents recorded in that in the manual, section 940, illustrates the principle that an amendment may subject the operation of a bill to a condition, but only if that condition is related to the general purpose and within the scope of the pending proposition. The chair would note a relevant precedent as an example of this principle. On December 11, 1973, a bill authorizing military assistance to Israel and funds for the United Nations emergency force in the Middle East was under consideration. An amendment was offered conditioning the availability of the authorized funds on a presidential certification related to a specific level of domestic energy supplies and was ruled out of order because the amendment conditioned the effectiveness of the underlying measure on an unrelated contingency. That precedent is carried in Daschler's precedents, chapter 28, section 31.22. The amendment in question provides a condition on the effectiveness of the bill as earlier described. The chair believes that the condition based on a foreign invasion is not related to a prohibition on the drawdown at the Strategic Petroleum Reserve pursuant to this bill. In this way, the chair finds that the condition imposed by the amendment is not related to the subject matter of the bill. For this reason, the chair finds that the amendment is not germane. The point of order is sustained.